joining us now, former governor, Republican of Virginia, one of the last Republicans to win a statewide race all the way back in the day, is Jim Gilmore, and he is with us now. Governor, good to have you with us.
Good morning, John. Great that you're now on stations up in Northern Virginia.
Well, you know what? They heard that you were coming on my show. Now everybody's picking me up, Governor. You're just a draw. You're like the magnet, man. I just put you on my show. Good things happen. It's incredible.
Everybody says so.
Glad
to be with you, though.
It is good to have you. Okay, let's get we got a lot of politics to go over, but first we got to start with the governor's race. Got this thing tied. That's what the internal polls are showing that I've heard from both camps. It's about tied. You can't really trust the news polls. They're always wrong in Virginia. I think it's going to be very close. But look, you had a message when you ran for governor, which was axe the car tax, and it only got halfway axed by the General Assembly. But you had a compelling message. You won a statewide race and were a great governor. What is Ed Gillespie in the final 2 weeks here? What does he have to do to win this race, Governor Gilmore?
I think he is showing that he's connected with the people of Virginia in a way that I think Ralph Northam is not showing. Ralph Northam is running a campaign of negativity. It's just anti-Trump. That's all he's really talking about, and I just don't think that's enough. I think the people of Virginia want somebody who's going to be forward-looking, somebody who's going to be talking about people's pocketbooks and making life better, and Gillespie is doing that. That's why I believe Ed Gillespie is the right choice for Virginia, why I think he's going to win. He's the one that's talking about tax relief. I don't know whether this specific plan is one that's going to be enacted or not, but he certainly wants to move things in that direction. He has a whole series of ideas about what to do for Virginia, and I just haven't heard any theme at all from Ralph Northam. He kicked his running mate off his literature, his African-American running mate off of his literature, which was, let's face it, kind of weird. I just think that Herring, and he's the Attorney General. I was once the Attorney General. I think he's been very partisan from the left. So the question is, do you want a left-wing Attorney General being reelected? I don't think you do. So I think John Adams is going to win. I think the whole Republican ticket has great momentum and is going to win the election.
All right, so let's look at when you get down to this, Governor. Obviously, turnout from the base becomes the big issue because this is an off-year election. The Ralph Northam camp, the Democrats bringing in President Obama, comes to Richmond on Thursday, draws 7,000 people. The base excited, trying to get him out. Obviously, part of the effort is for the Democrats in Virginia to inspire and get out their African-American vote, and that's why they brought Obama to Richmond, and they did get 7,000 people out to the convention center on a Thursday night. On the other hand, in order to get the Trump base out, I don't know what Gillespie's going to do. They had Mike Pence in Southwest Virginia a couple of weeks ago. We got 400 people, a pretty disastrous showing there. So if you were advising Gillespie right now, what does he have to do and say? How does he inspire Trump voters to come out for him on November the 7th and put him over the top?
I think that the Trump voters want change. I think that's why they're for Donald Trump to begin with. I think that there has been a drift to the left in the United States for a long, long time. And I think people know that. They're tired of higher taxes. They're tired of government control. They're tired of dividing people in the community, black from white and men from women. They're tired of all that stuff, and they want change, and that's why they elected Donald Trump. In the state of Virginia, we've had Governor McAuliffe, and I think that there's a sense that he has continued that leftward drift and is in teamwork with the national Democrats. And I think that Gillespie is talking about change. I think he's talking about being on the Republican team for change. And I think that's what you have to do to inspire people to get out to vote. And then at that point, it's a lot of blocking and tackling. But look, your listeners need to be aware that there's a 30% turnout drop-off between presidential elections and gubernatorial elections. That means the electorate is going to be smaller. And the question is, who's going to get their people to the polls in that smaller electorate? Traditionally, Republicans do. So I think that the Republicans need to understand that if they want change, they've got to vote, stick with the president, and stick with Ed Gillespie and win the election.
When you won your race, Governor, what was the biggest factor? Like that night when you went to bed, What did you say to yourself was the biggest factor that contributed to your overwhelming victory?
Well, I think we all agree. Everybody agrees. Even the adversaries agree that it was the tax cut. It was the car tax cut. People didn't like the car tax. They wanted to see a change in that. I was the candidate that was offering a change in that. Now, my platform was broader than that. I had really emphasized education a lot, and as governor, I implemented a lot of educational changes, including new teachers. But there's no doubt that people hated the car tax. It was something that was really impinging on their quality of life, their ability to take care of their children, and they wanted that tax cut. Now, let me tell you, listeners, that I stuck with that all 4 years and got 70% off. The General Assembly and Governor Warner then began to eat it back again after I left, and that's very sad. Even today, you could really eliminate that car tax cut. The budget of Virginia is up like 5 times as much as it was when we implemented the car tax cut, and not one additional penny has gone to further eliminate the car tax to 100%. So I'm saying that should be done. Now, what are we doing in this election? There's only one guy that's talking about tax relief in this election, and that's Ed Gillespie. So I think that the direction he is pointing to is something the people of Virginia are going to want. And I think I heard you say on the radio you thought this ticket was going to win, and I agree. I believe it will.
Well, look, I think Vogel's going to win. I think Adams is behind but is gaining momentum, and so I think he's got a chance. And I think Ed and Northam are tied, and I think it's really going to depend in the final 2 weeks of what Ed does to get the base out, because they brought Obama in. I think that's got to be countered. Look, you know as well as I do, Governor, at the end of the day, as you said, there's a minimum of a 30% drop-off governor's race from the federal race. So what do you do in order to motivate all your people to get out? And the Trump voters are really the wild card in this, because they're not the traditional voters who have come out in these primaries. I mean, when we won the election on Super Tuesday, which was March 1st, 2015, nobody saw that coming. None of the other consultants saw it. We kept predicting it, and they mocked us. And we knew we were going to win because we had signed up so many brand new people that came out that day that were not on anybody's radar screen. And, I mean, Ed's got to find a way to get those people to get out that day. And if he can do that, I think he wins. Governor, very quickly, let's get to the Iran deal. And I'm going to play a clip here. I want to get your reaction to it live. Here's President Trump saying that he told the leaders of France and Germany that he doesn't need them in the Iranian deal. And if he wants out, he's getting out, and he doesn't really care what they say.
But we have to get something in return.
And last week on this program, we had Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right.
He commended you. He congratulated you for decertifying Iran in what you did last week. Do you think you're going to get the Europeans to support you in terms of sanctions, in terms of not selling technology to Iran?
Honestly, I told them. They're friends of mine. They really are. I get along with all of them. Whether it's Emmanuel or whether it's Angela, I get along. I really like those people. I told them, just keep making money. Don't worry about it. We don't need you on this. You just keep making money. When Iran buys things from Germany and from France and from the various, billions of dollars, even us, they were going to buy Boeings. I don't know what's going to happen with the deal. We'll see what happens with the deal. But when they buy those things, it's a little harder for those countries to do something. Would they do it if I really was insistent? I believe they would. I told them, just keep making money. Don't worry. We don't need you on this one.
Governor Jim Gilmore, reaction.
Well, first of all, we need to understand the big picture, and the big picture is that there are powers in the world today that want to upset the liberal world order, and that's a small L, by the way. I think the liberals are very destructive in this country, but the liberal international order means democracy, the rule of the people, rule of law. There are people that want to upset all that, and it's specifically the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, and the Koreans. The president is trying to change course. President Obama was very passive during those 8 years. He was very reluctant to really draw the line. When he finally drew it with the Iranians, he drew it in such a way as to guarantee them nuclear weapons somewhere up the road. And that is the President Trump that wants to make a change in that. He wants to try to make sure that the Iranians never get nuclear weapons. And that's jarring when you're trying to make change. President Trump believes that he's going to act decisively and be a decisive leader on this to protect the American people. I don't think he's doing it for any peculiar reasons. I think he's doing it to try to protect the American people up the road. There's a lot of danger ahead, John, a lot of danger. And I think the United States is going to have to be stronger and stronger as the leader of a Western coalition. And I think that the president's comments are not placing himself in an adversarial position to the British, the French, and the Germans. He's simply saying, look, we have to provide the leadership out of the really central power of the Western order, and that's the United States. And I think that's what he's saying.
All right, so let's go to Governor Gilmore. Here's Secretary of State yesterday, Rex Tillerson. He took the Trump administration's case for isolating and containing Iran in the Middle East and beyond to two Gulf Arab nations, pushing for the Saudis, wanting to push Saudi Arabia and Iraq to unite to counter growing Iranian assertiveness.
Well, it's going to be tough to make the Iraqis participate in that. What's really developing here is a north versus south in the Middle East, with the Saudis and the Egyptians and Jordan on one side, and the Iranians and the Iraqis are developing that kind of relationship on the north side. I think ultimately you got to step back and say, look, what are the Iranians trying to do, and is that in an American national interest? And what they're trying to do is to spread their control over the entire Middle East. And what you're seeing with the Saudis and the Egyptians is pushback. Now, the United States, I think, has a choice to make. Maybe we can try to play both sides, but so far the Iranians have not allowed us to do that. They're continuing to spread terrorism and so on across the entire Middle East because that's what they want as a nation. I just think the Iranians ought to step back, build their country, do something to try to create a better quality of life for the people of Iran, and stop doing all this stuff that they're doing, because it's going to end up with all the Western powers led by the United States pushing back on the Iranians. That's my 2 cents.
All right, well, that is a big 2 cents on that, Governor. Let's get to the U.S. Senate race, right? I know you haven't made a decision whether or not you're going to get in, but the election for governor is on, and Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor is on November 7th. We've already got 2 Republicans that are pretty much said they're in. Corey Stewart, he's already announced. E.W. Jackson, we expect to announce this week sometime. Also, House of Delegates member Nick Fried has told me that he is seriously considering getting in. When is Jim Gilmore going to make a decision?
Well, we're talking to people and we're listening to people. The question, John, is will the party rally around a candidate and try to elect him to the Senate? Because the Democrats are going to stand strongly with Kaine. Kaine and Warner provide a duo that provide the votes day in and day out for the National Democratic Party and for the direction of the National Democratic Party, including people like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and people like that. Kaine and Warner are those votes. So they're going to want to stick very strongly with Kaine. The question is, do the people of Virginia, are they happy with that? Do they want that kind of vote on behalf of our state? And we have to determine that. We have to determine whether or not this is really a change that we can afford, that we can effectuate. And if we can, then perhaps I ought to run. I appreciate everybody that's calling me and asking me to run. The names that you put out there are fine men, but what we really have got to have is somebody that can unite the state in a different direction behind this president. And the question is, are we ready to do that? I'll take a look at it. I'm traveling the state. I had a really nice meeting with the Charlottesville Daily Progress the other day, but not on this topic. It was on what we really should be doing as a country. So I'm getting around and talking to people and listening a little bit, and I appreciate the chance to talk to your listeners today, particularly our friends in Northern Virginia, where I spend most of my time.
All right, Governor, so it sounds like you're going to make a decision sometime in November, right? I'm just trying to tie down when you're going to make a decision.
Well, we'll make a decision when we see the resources there to win. And frankly, I'm having some meetings with some people to talk that over, and we'll see. Look, John, there's no point in running unless I win the election. I'm not out here to block any of these other candidates you talked about. I'm not interested in doing that. If I'm at this point in my life, after a long history of public service, I'm not in it to play political games. I want to represent the people of Virginia in every way that I can, in whatever office I can, to move the state forward and to move the country forward. I have to determine whether the election process is going to permit that.
All right. Governor Jim Gilmore, thanks for being with us today. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Always appreciate your candor with us.